So 3 Ws required in a row from Forest at the max. Maybe 2 Ws and a draw gets it over the line. Forest will take on Leicester this weekend. This isn't a question of who wins. It should be a question of by how much. Welcome to the preview for Forest versus Leicester. Good morning, good evening, or good night. Hope you guys are doing well, and welcome to the preview for Forest versus Leicester at the world famous City ground. Coming up, we're going to talk you through all the injury updates. We'll go through a predicted or projected team lineup and just how many will Forest win by as they take on relegated Leicester. If you're enjoying the content, please don't forget to hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe if you are new to FFTV. We've done all the previews. You can go check them out at the end with blue tinted glasses. We've had the run-in episode as well, so check out what the other teams around us are thinking. It's getting very, very tight in this Champions League race. Okay, let's kick this off with, firstly, a reminder to go grab your tickets for this framed Forest team shirt, the home kit from Football Prizes, with loads and loads of in-store prizes. And they only cost 99p to grab your tickets right now. So go grab your ticket, scan the QR code, or click on the link that's pinned in the comments. And if you get this, I'm jealous. I really am. And another thing about being jealous is probably Leicester. Seeing Forest fighting in these Champions League positions, seeing Forest potentially, put that final nail in their coffin, stopping Vardy scoring his 200th goal. I mean, who really cares if Vardy gets 200 goals or not, man? Lee Chappie is done and dusted in the Premier League. But anyway, look, let's start with the injuries. Okay, so Nuno's done his presser, and as always, he was very clear and concise about who was fit and who wasn't. There was no talks of assessments. It was here's my 11 on the sheet. Everyone have a look. Write it down. No, obviously it wasn't. Of course it was. There's assessments. We'll be judging them. There's still another day to go. All the usual stuff. To be honest, the pressers are getting repetitive. But he was asked about Murillo. And he said Murillo should be in contention after, of course, an assessment to see whether or not he will be fit and ready. My guess is Murillo is fine for this weekend, and I think he will be risked. On Callum Hudson-Odoi, he did kind of rule him out, saying that he might be available towards the end of the season. I'm hearing differently. If you want more details on that, go check it out on Patreon. But he's out for this game, that's for sure. And with Sosa not really lighting the world on fire when he came on, will we see Elanga still on the left and Dominguez on the right and what have you? I still don't think it looks balanced, but we'll get into that in just a second. But outside of that, it seems that the team is fit. But there's a difference between being fit and fatigued. And I do feel this team is fatigued currently. It just feels like they're all plastered up and just about crossing over the finish line. To be honest, though, my under-14s team should be able to beat Leicester. So a fatigued Forest team should be absolutely fine. And Forest come into this with only one win in their last 5 games. You could say form hasn't been great. But don't they always say that in a derby match, form goes out the window? But then that brings us to the question of, is this even a derby match? Do you guys consider it one? Let me know in the comments down below. All right, enough babbling. Let's go and have a look at the team sheet and let me talk you through what I think could and should happen with this lineup. Alrighty then, so this was the team that started against Crystal Palace. They got the 1-1 draw at Selhurst Park, and I didn't like the setup. I've got nothing necessarily against the players that played, but honestly, I think that jigsaw puzzle is a bit mixed up. Now, with Callum Hudson-Odoi, as we mentioned, still expected to be out and probably for me the rest of the season, will Nuno do what he tends to do and switch Elanga to that left-hand side? And I think this is more Elanga's fault than Nuno's fault, because Elanga thinks he's more a left winger than he is a right one. Whereas I think he's just better on the right-hand side because he can get to the byline. And if he does cut in, he still has a decent enough weak foot to shoot from there. Yeah, I feel when he's on the left-hand side, he tends to try and do the Callum Hudson-Odoi a bit too much and cut in. I just want to see Elanga take on the fullback, go outside him, get to the byline, and somehow get the ball to Chris Wood. And I think he's better suited doing that from the right-hand side. But will Nuno switch that? I don't know. What I do know is this Dominguez experiment as a right winger or a right mid is not working for me. And this is where I would make the change. Look, if Nuno doesn't want to change the personnel, for me it's very simple. Although I think Elliot Anderson is our best 8, what I would do is switch Elanga back to the right-hand side. I would put Elliot Anderson on the left-hand side because he can play left wing as well. And then I'd bring Dominguez into the 8, and I think Sangare has earned at least another start, especially against a championship team. So for me, if he wants to keep the same personnel, that's how I would rotate it around. That's more balanced for me. And Dominguez will end up doing all the, the donkey work, if you like, around Sangare, which means Sangare can then spray the ball forward rather than we saw with Yates when he came on and was making 30-yard passes backwards. So that to me looks balanced. Now, is there going to be a temptation for him to do what he wanted to do at the start of the season, and that's start Dominguez and Danilo, Sangare and Danilo as the 6 and the 8. If you remember back to when Danilo got injured in that game against Bournemouth, that was the starting 6 and the 8. And that could probably have some balance if Danilo was in form, but he is bang out of form at the moment. If it's sunny on Sunday though, he is a fair weather footballer at the moment. Who knows? We might see it. And then the final option for me would be Danilo out in the 8th in. Look, this partnership has happened before. We saw it when Danilo came off in that game, if I'm not mistaken. Yates played as the 8, and I actually think had a decent game there because Sangare was able to free him up, and he actually went forward quite well. I don't think I'd go with the Yates one. For me personally, if you can find a way to get Anderson and Sangare next to each other to see that balance that we saw against Crystal Palace, I actually think once Sangare came off, we lost our way a little. I would just for the hell of it probably bring Jota in. I don't know. This is a tough one. Do you lose the balance that we saw with Sangare and Danilo and put Anderson on the left? Or do you just go Elanga on the left-hand side, Jota on the right, and take it from there? That's probably what Nuno does for me. I think that's what he goes with. Now, the only other thing to address, if Murillo is not passed after this assessment, then expect Morato to come in for Murillo, but the back 4, I think, will remain the same otherwise. That's the team I'm going with. Do you agree with it or not? Let me know in the comments. Okay, so how does this one pan out in my mind? I'm not joking at the start of the video. Well, a little bit, just to nice blue tinted glasses. But this should really be for Forest a case of how many. Let's knock our goal difference up. But we all know Forest are Forest. And the script never writes itself as cleanly as you would hope. There's the whole thing with the whole Vardy on 199 goals for Leicester. He's going to get his 200th one for Forest. I can give a damn. As long as it's 5 for us and 1 for them, he can have that goal. Give him 2 for all I care. But let's not forget the script that needs to be written and the script that the Leicester fans aren't talking to you about. And that's the fact that Chris Wood tends to always find a goal against Leicester. He scored against them with Burnley. He scored this season against them, got 2 at King Power Stadium. So expect potentially and hopefully Chris Wood to go from 19 to 20 and get into those 20s of Forest in the Premier League this season. That's what I'm expecting to happen, more so than Lee Chappie scoring his 200th goal. I think Forest will go back to playing the football we saw them playing a couple of months ago. I think Leicester is stupid enough to try and come out on the front foot. They've got nothing to play for, nothing to lose. So why not try and be a little bit on the front foot? Forest will let them, but they've got bozos at the back, and Forest will expose those spaces, especially if Nuno sets up the wingers correctly. And I do expect, maybe not 5 goals, but at least 2 or 3 for Forest. And I will be surprised if Leicester scores. So I'm going to predict this one as Forest 3, and I'll give Vardy his 1 goal. 3-0. 3-0 to Forest. That's how I see this one going. But as they say, this is a derby and anything can happen. And Forest can always do a Forest. Are you guys feeling confident enough in this game as I am? Let me know in the comments down below. Get your predictions in, and if you haven't already, please don't forget to hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. Go check out the run-in if you haven't seen it from last night. Go check out the transfer news and get your tickets for football prizes by scanning the QR code. So much content for you to see. We'll be back for the watch along tomorrow, as Forest could be back into that top 5, depending on the result between Newcastle and Chelsea. We'll see you then. Come on, you Reds.